Hey, welcome back to the WeMaple video show. Today we're here with Stan Gorbanov, founder and senior solutions architect at DatFrame, a company that specializes in multi-layer cybersecurity and other specialties that we're going to discuss today. Stan's a professional in multiple technological avenues, including cybersecurity, IT, and customer service, avid golfer, and plane enthusiast.
Yes, that's the biggest thing. For me, it's been since I was a kid, the planes, the speed, that's what actually fascinates me more, is the speed before the plane actually takes off and when it lands, that power that you have, and when you lift off, that's just incredible. That's what fascinates me. So I'm more into the jet planes myself, if I weren't into the tech more, I would probably be in the pilot sector. But because of my injury that happened in the early age that I had, I cannot hold a pilot license, unfortunately. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that came up initially that we had met, because I'm blind in my left eye. And when we started chatting at that Christmas event, when you have something, you always notice it in others, or I always do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I can see that in your, but for you, it's not as obvious. I can see that it's a bit misaligned, the eyes. With me, it's a bit more obvious, but it comes over time because of the muscles inside the eye, that some of them are loosened more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the doctor explained to me. That's how it happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for the advancements in medical science and things that are happening. I don't know if it's necessarily Neuralink, but the fact that maybe those nerves that are, with mine, it's nerve damage, so I'm 90% virtually blind, but that maybe in 10 years they'll be able to restore the vision through what they're doing in technology. What are your thoughts around that biotech?
I think there is a huge chance of that, and people are working towards that, the scientists, and I think the scientists see the big advantage in incorporating that tech sector, because this is one of the biggest things that can advance everybody's eventually, and we're seeing that throughout the virtual reality right now. So, and social media, it's a big thing. Right now, we're just carrying books, and we can have access to the massive amount of information in our pockets. And it's before it even, let's put it like 20 years ago, we wouldn't have that ability to do that. We have to have those bookshelves everywhere set up, and if you need that information, you go and check that. Right now, you just go on the web and search for any type of information you need, and you gather it. There is tons of garbage out there. You have to find a way how to filter it properly. And that's where the cybersecurity part comes into play, and to guide you properly, to makes you think a bit before you do something. And this is the important part of the aspect. So I'm not only doing the corporate level, also the personal level of the cybersecurity aspect of things. And that's what I'm encouraging people, thinking before you're posting something online. This is very important. And what type of pictures you're taking, look at your backgrounds, look what you have on your table, look what you have, what you're trying to post, or who you're taking the pictures with. That's the most important as well.
Why is that important?
Well, first of all, the first thing, if you have a background, something that discriminates you, or let's say you take a picture and at your workplace, and you have in the background the workplace logo or something like that, or company name, for example. Now the cyber criminal can look at that, and he's able to identify where you work. So based on that information, they can start reverse doing that social engineering part of that, and trying to impersonate you or somebody else. So saying, oh yeah, I'm working there and I'm doing this, and I'm working for that particular company, and I was on that event that company happened and stuff like that. And they were able to doing that social engineering and having this perform the attack to impersonate that person, and having the that successful attack to in order to get their capital gain or whatever gain they might need.
What would you say to someone who would listen to what you just described and say, that'll never happen to me?
Well, usually it's we still have to be careful what we're posting online. That's what I would say. It might not happen, but again, if you have a social media account, the first thing what I would say, especially the situation that happened, and it happened most often than everybody might think of. And first of all, we're so small people. Sometimes if something happens to small people, let's say, it's not going to, we're so small that we're not going to get to the news. But it's usually when there is somebody more valuable people in this world, they are the one who's going to make the news, usually, if somebody impersonates them. That's why no one trying to impersonate them. However, that being said, with the new technology, AI and other things, it's very easy to do. Just taking a picture and try to do the mimics and impersonation. Like we see tons of, I see tons of ads on the social media where Elon Musk, he talks about cryptocurrency, but in reality, he's not that big into the cryptocurrency. He's not advocating for that Bitcoins or other cryptocurrencies out there. But we see that he's kind of talking about that. So, for example, I'm going to say on the personal level, what happens? If you're going on a trip, that's my personal advice would be, don't post the pictures when you're on a trip or before you're going on a trip, because this can actually reflect the chain of reactions and certain consequences that can lead to the greatest damage. For example, if you're, let's say, on the plane and you're taking a picture and then as soon as you land, you get the internet connection and you post it online, oh, look, we're going on vacation. Wow, great. That gives not only cyber criminals, but also the criminals the access. Okay, they're not home. We know where they live. We can go and take everything from their house or wherever it might be. Usually if you want to post something, I would suggest strongly do it after the fact. So you did your trip, you came back home, and then you can post, oh, we were on that trip or something like that. So that's what I would suggest strongly, and this happens more often than everybody might think.
And in the corporate environment, when you define yourself as a solutions architect, when you think of an architect, you think of someone that's designing infrastructure or someone that's very thoughtful of the whole mechanics, both the engineering and the aesthetics and the process of the entire build. And so what's your approach in a corporate environment to go in and how do you take a look at things in that setting?
Okay, in the corporate environment, first of all, before we are onboarding the customer, during our onboarding process, what we do, the first thing, we understand what the corporate environment's current goals are and what they're trying to achieve and how their business processes are in place, what type of business processes they have in place right now, presently. So if, let's say, for example, they're working with certain countries only and they don't need to work with the other countries, we can implement the processes just so they can only communicate with this type of countries only. As one of the easier example, I would say, or they have certain access to. They would need certain access to certain technical environments only. They don't need to have access to the whole internet. We can also customize that based on their needs, on their business goals, and on their business flows, pretty much, if you can say that. And that's how we're doing it. And we understand what their requirements are. If they don't have the requirements, we help them build those requirements, and we implement those requirements later in the process.
What is multi-layer cybersecurity?
Multi-layer cybersecurity, actually, everybody talks about that too much, but I've been implementing the multi-layer cybersecurity for many years for multiple of our customers.
Is that like two-factor authentication? Like, is that where someone wants to access computer, it's got to text your phone, and then you need the code? Would that be considered multi-layer?
It is multi-layer. So you have your username, you have your password, and you have multi-layer, multi-factor authentication. That's one of the. It just to protect that one piece. But we're actually going much deeper. So in our multi-layer cybersecurity, you look at the business as a castle, right? And you have those walls, big walls, right? And those walls are made out of brick. So this is where we see it as a firewall. We put in the firewalls to protect that network. Inside that network, you see the small houses there you have. So those small houses, it's like your computer. Your computer needs to have a protection as well. And actually I had this idea, again, it coming back from the airplane business too. They have this Swiss cheese effect, where if you look at the Swiss cheese, the holes are never aligned, right? If you cut the cheese in a certain way and you're trying to align the holes, and when the holes align, then you can see through what happens on the other side, pretty much. So what we're doing, we're implementing that multi-layer cybersecurity that the holes never align. So we're creating that Swiss cheese model in our solutions when we implement it for the customer. So most of the attacks starts with the email. So we're implementing cybersecurity on emails, on email part first. Actually, there is more than 90%. All the attacks starts from the email. Then we're putting another barrier. It's the firewall that needs to be. It can be physical firewall inside the office just to protect the network. And then we're going into the computer protection, workstations. We have another layer of protection. And those, usually the computer communicates with the firewall. And if computer detects, if the cybersecurity protection that's been implemented inside the computer detects some unnecessary processes or something like that, it will notify the firewall on top, and not firewall will block the access to that computer, or the computer itself is going to block the access to the internet, and will not be able to spread to other computers inside the same network.
We said
isolating.
Yeah, it isolates the incident. When you said 90% of attacks, or 90%,
more than 90,
happen through email, is that where, for example, you get an email and there's an attachment, or
Yes.
it goes to a file, and then you click that file, it downloads into the computer, and then that file is going to try and get through the firewall from the computer?
So the computer, what happens once you open that attachment? Most likely, what happens is that it opens the back door for the cyber criminal on the other side. So it's the same way as you can see those remote session tools that they have right now in place.
Where someone can control your desktop from another location.
Exactly. Yeah. The only thing you will not see them actually being active, because usually it's going through the command. They can actually make a screenshot of your desktop,
Mm-hmm.
and on whatever basis they want. Actually, right now they can see when you're moving the mouse. And the only thing, you don't see them, right? So they can see wherever you do on your computer. They can track it. They can collect as much information as possible. And usually once you open that attachment, that's when it gives that backdoor access to the cyber criminal. And what we see usually in the wild is that it takes between roughly average 90 to 100 days for the cyber criminal to actually initiate the attack. So that 90 days, they're sitting there and collecting the information, what they can gain from that particular company or that particular person or what might be. So most of the businesses, most of the people, they don't even know that they have something like that. And what they do also, that's one of the things, it's they're collecting the information. If they cannot get nothing, what they can install also, that computer becomes as a cryptocurrency miner. That's another thing too. The third thing, what it might happen, it's the computer becomes a zombie, and when they need to perform certain attacks on the one of the companies, they can actually perform that. That particular computer can send bogus information to the web just to knock it down the certain networks or servers or stuff like that. So they would need hundreds of thousands of those endpoints, as a zombies they call them, and or we call them, and send that bogus information out there.
That 90 to 100 days that you were describing, where the cyber criminal is sort of assessing or looking at what the asset might have or what they could take, is sort of like scoping out a bank, right? Like they're sort of investigating what the yield might be and then how they could break in. And so I'd imagine there's a lot of this activity happening where they might access a company and then kind of look around and they're like, like you made security's too high. Like, what are we really going to steal? Like they're probably like, let's move on.
Not necessarily. Once they're inside, they will still perform some sort of act, no matter what it is. Once they're in, it's they're not gonna move on. Most likely, what they're gonna try to lure some either money from you, like wire transfer. One of the biggest things. As a business owner, sometimes they have huge vector of attacks. So once somebody is a business owner, when they're sleeping, they can send the email to accountant saying wire this money to this bank account or something like that. Some large sums. They will know after the 90 days, they will know approximately what the company is able to do and how many transfer they can accomplish, and they will be able to do that. Or again, they can install the tool that will use the computer to do the cryptocurrency mining. Just use the power on that, yes.
Use the power for the mining. Yeah. For the example you just used around accessing the computer and then, for example, sending an email to accountant or bookkeeper and says, hey, send this EFT out. With the security that the banks themselves have, without that third-party human being involved in that example that you just used, what's the likelihood of a cyber criminal being able to actually access your bank account, a corporate business account?
They have very high chance to do it once they have access to the computer. If the person doesn't have especially if the business owner doesn't have multi-factor authentication to their banking, most likely they can do it themselves at night. Cyber criminals, they just log in as themselves. The real hacking, like people thinking somebody's hacking, it's like they go on the site and the real hacking is not happening like that. They're just collecting the information and they log in as that person. They're using their credentials and that's it. There is also ways to bypass multi-factor authentication. I'm not gonna say the ways they are, but I can say the ways how to protect usually from that as well. Because right now, what we see more and more, multi-factor authentication too is just sending you the email with the code. If the hacker has access to the computer, they have access to the code as well.
And if they get into your phone, with some enterprise corporate accounts, for example, if you're going to send an EFT or e-transfers over a certain limit, there's an app that works with the enterprise bank server on the phone. Before you do the transfer, the app wants you to put in a special PIN code and then take that PIN code and then put it into the enterprise platform. But with what you're describing, if there is an attack or an infiltration, they could get the computer to send the code, and if they can get into your phone, they can get the code, and then they take the code back from the phone into the computer and then perform and then what's the protection level from your experience, Stan, on if there was something like that took place where there was a deceptive transfer or basically a theft? Are the banks, are you insured, or is the business owner insured and covered if there is a theft of that nature?
Usually, if the business has a cybersecurity insurance in place and what type of policy that they negotiate, usually they are partially covered. the funds is still recoverable after a certain period of time. So if there is an EFT happen, usually it takes 3 days for the EFT to actually clear. So cyber criminals, they know about that, and they trying to do it in small portions, like not as obvious, so the business owners don't see it as much, and it's still being recoverable. However, if the money left and being withdrawn from the other side, most likely they're not recoverable, but it will take the law enforcement at that point to perform the investigation in order to recover those funds.
And then as the business owner, basically those funds would be lost unless they're recoverable, or is the bank have a level of accountability?
Here's the thing, and this is what sometimes we see, most likely the funds are, once they're at the stage when they're already been withdrawn from the other side, most likely they're not recoverable. And most likely it's the law enforcement, they're going to put person in jail, let's say. But the funds, most likely, they are not recoverable at this point. So that's why it's very important to have that cyber security insurance in place. However, to get the cyber insurance, the company must be compliant to get it. You have to have certain protection in place in order to do it. Did you as a business owner implemented those protection in place before? And that's where, again, that's one of the things that we are offering too. It's we're giving that compliance to get the cyber insurance.
Got it. And that's what DAT Frame can help groups do, is get that compliance in place, and then you'll have either a lower premium or a higher chance of even getting the insurance.
Yeah, and we also help negotiate those premiums too with the insurance companies as well.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And so back to this fascination that you have with planes and with flying, you mentioned that you've done simulations. What are those devices like, or what is that experience like?
Oh, that's been amazing. Again, as the closest I can get to the cockpit, like the actual flying experience, is through the simulators. That's as close as I can get. I built a simulator at home for myself, and it's been one of the greatest things that I ever did, and it's been a fantastic experience. Again, using the VR as well. To actually experiencing that, and you're sitting in the real plane and actually taking the control. It's amazing. But recently also I discovered there is also, you can go and fly in you're sitting in a real cockpit, like a pilot, and you're flying. It's been next level. No VR can replace that, where you're actually sitting and interacting with all the buttons that you have there. It takes my mind away, like I'm really flying at that point.
Where do you think that came from, that affinity that you have for planes? You mentioned growing up you're always fascinated by them, but do you remember a moment where you're just like, oh, I love planes?
I don't remember that exact moment, but I think it started when I was as a kid maybe, and I was we've been traveling a lot, and we took a lot of planes, and I think it's the speed that fascinates me more, and that's what I loved more. It's the speed. It's that speed takes you, and that whole power during the takeoff. It's been just amazing, and then the actual flying experience. And again, you have that computer sets in there, so you have that technology aspect of this. So it's kind of, you're incorporating the vehicle with the technology, and it's kind of like normal marriage for me. And that's where it comes into play. And again, there is no restrictions. I'm talking about in terms of speed, where in cars, you have speed limits, you have this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. In the planes, you have those restrictions as well, but the speeds are much greater. And what I love in the planes too, it's the aspect of that they do inspections of the planes. That's why the planes are much safer. and you cannot skip. If they change one, for me, what fascinates me, if they change one screw somewhere inside the plane, inside the seat, they have to notify like everybody in order for that plane to be safe to fly. Just one screw, like small screw, doesn't change much.
I had a uncle work at Air Canada for about 30 years, and I remember him describing that out on the tarmac. Anything that needs to be adjusted is documented and approved, and it's pretty nuts. What are your thoughts on, for example, Virgin Galactic? You could go buy a new apartment, or for $250,000, you could go outside of the atmosphere. What are your thoughts on taking planes to the next level and actually going to see outer space?
The space, it's more fascinating. Again, and as we speak more, and as I've been thinking more, and as I'm probably getting more older, what I enjoy more is the speed of the thing. Like,
so you go infinite speed, right? Because there's no resistance in space. Is that right?
Like, there is some resistance. That's why when the comet actually flies, it has that gas behind it, right? So there is some resistance out there. Again, I'm not the scientist in space, in terms of space, but there is some resistance, of course. And to break those resistance, I know for the Voyager to fly, they have to take those other planets to actually take the momentum to go to the next level. So there is some resistance for sure. But it would be fascinating to see the spaceships going close to the speed of light. That's what I think that would be greatest achievement that humankind can achieve at this point. Because if you think right now too, speed of light is it's pretty fast. I mean, like it's super fast. But if something happened to the sun right now, us as a human being, we're going to find out about it 8 minutes later, only after a fact. 8 minutes or something, yeah. And this is what fascinates me more, that's actually like something happened out there already that we don't know about. And that's where the speed aspect of the speed, how fast we can find out about this information. And that's where it comes back to the technology too. That's where we start with the internet, dial-up, slow internet, or the phone, and then we're going up the ladder. Now we're transferring data using light, fiber optics, I mean. So we're transferring data from one side of the planet to another using light. And it's amazing. That's what it is. So we're using already speed of light in that terms.
I was listening the other day to some information about quantum computing, and it was describing how, it described quantum computing finally in a way that I easily understood it, which is that generally you've got zeros and ones that make up computing. And in a quantum computer, your zero can also be a one, and your one can also be a zero. And so the code is this infinite amount of possibility where instead of 2 digits, you've actually got 4 digits. Yeah. And so mixing that with what you're describing with the speed of light, like within 10 years, technology is going to be somewhere, I think, and the advancement of AI is almost unimaginable, that bell curve, right? The way in which it goes and accelerates to a point we can't even speculate where we'll be.
It's exactly. It's impossible to see. The only thing I would like to mention that it doesn't mean that you're going to get the quantum computer inside your laptop. And I don't think that it's going to be feasible in the near future as well, or down the road, because you don't need so much power in your computer. It's like you're not taking the 53-foot truck trailer to go from work to home. There is no point for you to do that, right? So the same thing we're having with the quantum computers. The quantum computers, they will take a huge advantage, like in AI advancements. Yes, I see that big, or in the research for certain science researches that we have. It can be It can be space, it can be health, it can be anything in science I'm talking about. But for regular home users, I don't think it's going to happen, or business users cases. That quantum computers we're going to benefit much, but we're going to see the benefit on our personal level more. Like you were saying, to go to space, it would be much easier.
That cost curve will probably come down too. The idea of retail consumers going to see outer space the same way that you'd go on an all-inclusive trip to Mexico, whatever, a few decades from now, assuming space is real and we're not in a simulation, that a few decades from now, we'll be able to go and tour the stratosphere, be able to see the moon as an all-inclusive.
Yeah, but it's already started happening. It's already kind of started happening at this point. Look what Virgin Galactic did. What other companies like doing right now too. We're already up there. Kind of. You can buy a ticket right now and go and see the.
I think it's $250,000 on Virgin.
Yeah, it's like nothing. And sign up for another mortgage and buy a house now for this money here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but again, we're not going there. What I'm trying to say is that we're already there. You can go and see, and again, I'm looking at a lot of astronauts that they say, I saw that great thing that happened. It's like the astronaut, he's like, yeah, especially the first time they go into the space, they as soon as they achieve that atmosphere, the first thing they look out their illuminator and they check those at the window and they see, and they're like, oh yeah, the Earth is round. It is a sphere. So that's the first thing the human being always checks for. Like, so I wasn't BS'd, That's the funny part I see. And the moon too. It's fascinating. Mars. Look what happens with the Mars right now. It's huge research is happening towards that.
To become a multiplanetary species. That's what Elon Musk talks about. Is that we must go and explore space. We must become an interplanetary race.
Yeah, but we have to. The only thing what we have to look into is we have to find a way how to be friendly among ourselves first, because what we see right now, I mean, people, we have to find how we can live together first, because if you put the people into, again, that's what we see right now happening. If you put people into like small closed environment together, what happens? They're gonna trying to find the way to hurt each other in certain ways. It can be in words, it can be physical, or it can be any other hurt. So that's what I think we should look into. It's to find a way how we can live together in the where we can respect each other, where we can live without disagreements. We have to find a way probably where we can talk and listen and understand each other. That's the biggest thing I see.
We've touched on AI a little bit today, and also when we met, we were talking about AI and in particular some of the dangers that are coming with AI being able to recreate voices and impersonate others, or that we don't know it's real. You used a Elon Musk example where there's a video that clearly looks like Elon Musk promoting a cryptocurrency that's actually an AI-generated video of Elon Musk promoting a cryptocurrency. And so how can we protect our families, and how can we have some discernment around what's real and what's not?
So the biggest thing, and this is what I would advocate towards, everything new is forgotten old, like if you forgot something old. And we can implement the same system as banks used to use before in that situation. And that's where you amongst your family, I would say you come up with some kind of secret words that you can that only your family members will know about. And when some family member receives the call and it's trying to impersonate the other family member, they will use that word, they will use that sentence or word, secret word that they only know. And if they don't get the answer back, that's gonna be probably that where they you'll know that it's not the family member that you're talking to. So in other terms, I would say in simple terms, it's using that James Bond spy agencies that they used sentences to kind of understand if they're talking to the right person or not. Because they say, okay, you're going to go there to that country, you're going to meet with this person and use this secret word, like let's say, tomato, and the other one's supposed to say pineapple. And if you know that terms, then you'll know you're talking to the right person. But if you say tomato and you're expecting them to answer back pineapple, but they say apple, you know that it's totally different person.
Mm-hmm. We had done this experiment, I think I expressed to you, where we had someone maybe more black hat, but gray area, was able to phone my phone from a friend's phone. And so when I looked at the caller ID, it showed my friend's number as though it was him calling. And I answered, and I would have thought I was speaking to him. And now there's AI tools that if you speak, I think Apple even promotes this. If you speak for 30 seconds, it can then recreate your voice and have you say anything at any time. So if now it's possible for you to answer your phone and think it's a particular person, and AI can recreate any particular person, the AI could then carry on a conversation with you, and you would think it's that other person. And the whole time it was just some computer-generated scheme, if it was a hacker, as you've said, or someone that ill intentions. I don't know other use cases for something like that other than it would be an ill intention. These scams that are happening in India to get your grandma to go to the bank and get gift cards. This is like a whole other level of deception.
Yeah, so there is no such respect anymore. And again, people from those countries that trying to scam people, especially here in North America, they have that precipitation. I mean, they have that idea that people here are super rich and they have a lot of money. What they don't understand that the bills here, everything in the world kind of balances out, and the amount, yes, people here have dollar amount salaries and they're high, but however, the thing is the amount of bills and taxes that people here needs to pay. No one look it, so it only looks good on the paper, but it's not really looks what the people get at the end of the day in their pocket. It's totally different what it looks like on the paper. So if, let's say, somebody lives, like you mentioned, in India, and they're thinking, okay, somebody is getting the salary here, $5,000 a month, they're like, oh my God, this guy is like a millionaire, right? But out of this $5,000 a month, there's 40% just goes out for taxes or something like that. Something of that nature. Depends on the multiple layers, right? So, and then minus rent, minus other things that needs to be paid for. At the end of the day, people don't have as much money as the same people. Yes, the most important, if you have a food, if you ate today, if you have a roof on top of your head, I think you're already a pretty lucky guy. And the health is amazing. That's it. You're a lucky guy.
Yeah, those two things alone puts you in, I think it's 20% of the world that you know you're going to get your next meal and you know you have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
And then we go into an even smaller category if you've got a car and if you have a full-time job and savings, it is even a smaller. So yeah, things are more expensive here, but we certainly have a lifestyle or things that maybe we take for granted in Western society.
Well, certain things, but again, the world is evolving too, right? So other side of the world is, I would say, catching up eventually, and they have pretty standard, they're going towards that standard living styles as well. So most of them too. Yeah, but again, whatever is good here, let's say it's not necessarily going to be good somewhere in India, if you would say, or in other parts of the world. So I mean that's how I would look into that, and whatever is good there, it's not necessarily going to be good here. So that's where I see, and yeah, but as we coming back to the same AI generated, like you were saying, the phone, that you had this conversation with your fake friend, let's put it this way. The phone system actually been designed for a long time, longer than computers been designed, right? So, and that's where I'd like to bring that aspect. And when phone system designed, they weren't thinking about cybersecurity back then. That's why that old phone systems that we have, it's been incorporated. Yes, it's been incorporated into the computers. It's been incorporated into the technology. However, it still also drags that aspect of unsecure communication. And now the companies are trying to implement more and more secure ways of preventing the, like you were saying, spoofing of the numbers. It's called spoofed number, pretty much. That's what it is. So, I mean, we have to find the way how to better protect ourselves, first of all. And we have to be suspicious about, are we really talking to this person? And again, those are some of the words, even if you don't know the secret word with the person, but you know that you did something, or you know that particular person did something day before yesterday from your wife, or from your brother, from your sister, whatever it might be, you can say, hey, John, by the way, how's that kayak trip that you had yesterday? You can actually, or even you can just throw something out. And if he say, oh, it was amazing, but you know that this guy doesn't do kayaking or something like that, he doesn't, you know that you're talking to the wrong person. So you can throw some curveballs, let's put it this way, at towards those people, just to throw them off and see how they're gonna react. That's what I see.
Yeah, good to be proactive and protect ourselves out there. Where can people find you, Stan?
They can find me in the online, LinkedIn mostly, and on the webpage datframe.com. Excellent. That's the biggest. That's you guys can reach me out, and all over Canada you can find me too. I've been traveling a lot recently in the past. After the pandemic, I've been traveling a lot. So.
Oh, great. Do you have accounts in other major cities?
Yes. So we're Canada-wide right now. We have Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and Calgary, and Vancouver partially. Yeah.
Excellent. Any last closing words that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Yeah. So the biggest thing what I would say is stay vigilant, be protective, and be super suspicious who you're talking with. All right. Stay safe, guys.
Got it. Well, thanks for coming on today, Stan.
Thank you.